All right, so hello, I am Jonathan Little. I think I met all of you so far. And today we're going to talk about how to play the World Series of Poker main event. It is quite different from a lot of other tournaments in that the levels are super duper slow and they give you a ton of chips. So because of that, you can't just blindly get it all in like you do in a lot of smaller tournaments, and that causes a lot of amateur players to get in trouble. They recently just had this monster stack tournament at the World Series where they give you a boatload of chips, and all of the amateurs showed up to play, right? Because they wanted to play with a lot of chips. And while that does give them a lot of time value for playing, they're going to be able to sit there for a day or two and play. It's actually really bad for them because they're going to end up getting blinded down, and basically the good players are going to take all of their money very slowly. And that allowed for the final table to be pretty tough. There were a few guys there who were unknowns, but even the unknown guys were pretty decent when you looked at them playing at the final table. So be aware that having a lot of chips does not necessarily mean it's a good thing for the average player. And that's why you see a lot of the same people winning World Poker Tour events, World Series of Poker events. I mean, every year at the World Series of Poker, there's probably 500 or so professionals, and if you look at the final table, there's usually 2 or 3 of them out of a 10,000 person field or however many people play the thing. So it's definitely something to be aware of, and that's because the pros adjust their strategy and the amateurs don't necessarily. So you are going to be deep stack throughout the entire tournament, and you have to recognize you're going to have to adjust. And also you're going to find that in a lot of tournaments like the World Series main event, there are a lot of players with varying stack sizes. Some guys are going to have 100 big blinds, some guys are going to have 50 big blinds, and you have to recognize those will take different strategies, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we go forward. So in general, when you first get to the table, you're going to want to see a lot of flops in position, particularly against weak players. You're going to find that being in position is extraordinarily mandatory. For example, say someone raises to 3 big blinds and you have 9-6 suited in the small blind. You should probably just fold. Even though if you're in position, you could consider calling, you can consider re-raising, because you have position, you're going to be able to put that guy in bad spots. But when you're out of position, you have to realize that if you do decide to call pre-flop, or even re-raise pre-flop, that guy's going to have position on you, and it's not going to work out too well. He can often, say you do decide to get crazy and check raise some flop with nothing, he can still just call, and then you're extraordinarily lost in the hand. And you definitely don't want that to happen. So you definitely want to be in position as much as possible. And also against weak players, because weak players are going to turn their hand face up a little bit faster than professionals. Usually by the river, everyone's playing fairly straightforward, but amateurs tend to play fairly straightforward on the flop. So say, for example, you do call with the 9-6 suited against an amateur guy, and it comes ace-king-3, and he checks. You probably want to bet, because he's not going to have much of anything most of the time. And if he does check call, he probably has something marginal like king-jack or ace-2. And then if you just bet the turn and then blast the river, he'll fold by the river, and then you just win every time. So definitely be aware of spots where your opponent is likely weak and attack accordingly. Don't be afraid to attack. I think that's also a very important concept.
Okay, so I'm a mindset coach based here in Las Vegas. I've been a hypnotherapist since 2010, and I've ended up, primarily I only work with poker players and UFC fighters. Some professional boxers as well, but that's pretty much my full market. I'm qualified in hypnotherapy, NLP, and EFT, a member of the American Board of Hypnotherapy. In terms of poker, I've worked with over 170 professional poker players now, quite a few recreational players as well. And then in terms of who I'm usually dealing with, though, the vast majority of the players I work with are online professionals. So although I'm based here in Las Vegas, nearly all of my sessions are done on Skype, and it's usually high volume professional grinders I'm working with. So they're looking to hit online targets like Supernova Elite. They're looking to set up, basically set themselves up to hit those targets as well as just playing well. In terms of live players, a lot of the time what I'm dealing with is guys who have physical tells that are related to adrenaline. So there are some people who their necks will sort of pulse while they play, or they'll shake when they pick up a strong hand. So the live game, I'm frequently dealing with those sorts of things, and then the online game, a lot of the time it is sort of this motivation side. It's dealing with tilt, and then it's helping people basically improve the numbers of hands that they're playing. Sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to start off with talking about today are the different types of tilt, as sort of included in the sort of as what people know as tilt, and then basically breaking that down, giving you guys an idea of what my concepts are and how they differ to what would be considered the standard views on what tilt are, how you can then work through that, how my process works to get through that issue. And also things that you can do on your own. I'll be teaching you how to self-hypnotize, which is like a deeper form of meditation, and explaining how that can work and basically what it can do for your game.